Hey Joe, good afternoon everyone, and thank you for joining us this afternoon or this evening. We In this session we will open the floor for questions and comments. This is session 3 of our Q&A. Mr. Aku and I just wanted to give you people some extra time for us to discuss some of the issues that we have touched on during our lectures and our Q&A sessions. So we will follow the list from Tuesday. So that means we'll start off with Sweden and then Michaelin and Valerie and then go through the list and complete. So without further delay, we welcome Mr. Ako. Thank you for joining us this evening, and I thank all of you as well, those of you in the meeting room, for joining us. So we now open the floor for questions and comments. Sweden, please go ahead. Yes, Sweden is having some technical issues, then we'll who's next on the
Mr.
list?
Sorry,
Oh,
can
okay,
you
Sweden.
please?
Okay, Sweden, go ahead.
Good afternoon to you all. So, I have 6 comments and also 6 questions to ask. So, I'll begin by uh, making my comment. So, my first comment, Mr. Apo, in your presentation last week, you have mentioned about COVID-19, which changed the economy activities in the world, including PNG. So this is true, which is true, and which forced many countries to change their policies, and most importantly, it forced many countries to use the internet or online to communicate as a channel to arrange meeting and important meetings in terms of economic meetings and all this. So to the second comment, also you mentioned in your the impact of COVID-19 on education in PNG, which in my own opinion, I can say that PNG education has transited into a digital literacy where many schools has begun to use uh, online platforms such as Moodle for learning, mostly in universities, college, and some secondary schools as well. So to the third one, third comment, in your presentation, in week 11, you stressed more on the rise of Chinese influence in the Pacific. So this is true, which I strongly agree that China strategic plan is to increase its influence in the Pacific, mainly through engaging in infrastructure development. A good example is PNG. As we all can see, the Chinese construction company had taken lead in constructing road and bridges in many parts of Papua New Guinea. What comment? PNG government. The fourth comment is like go back to the policy or the security agreement that was signed between the PNG government and Australia. So the PNG government, the delay of the has delayed the agreement with the Australia as seen by many Australian as a many Australians as a government by criticizing the government or the prime minister by saying that he has failed a lot in strengthening bilateral relationship with the countries within the Pacific region. And to the last comment, also the Western powers, especially US, sees Australia as weak by saying that Australian government cannot contain or minimize the Chinese influence in the Pacific. So this is a comment yeah, done by a lot of Americans. So now to to my questions. At the first question, Mr. Ako, this goes back to the policy or the look north policy. So through the look north policy back in 1990s, PNG, Papua New Guinea, and Indonesia had a good relationship, a close one. However, today, what do you think? What do you think? Do PNG still maintain this relationship with Indonesia or Indonesia?
Okay. We'll go question by question, Sweden.
Yeah.
Okay, good plan. that relationship is still maintained strongly. In fact, we are maintaining a strong relationship with all our bilateral partners, more better than before, because once this geopolitics come into play, and the talk of all this debate on the pros and cons of the Pukpuk Treaty, plus the influence which China is doing around the region, and the U.S. and Australia working towards balancing the I'll say the status quo in the region. It's important to for smaller economies. It is important to maintain bad relations with our existing partners, because in that case we are providing or we are showing that we can be trusted. We are committed to the bilateral relations and communicates we've signed with each of these countries, and that you missed up all right. And then it comes to the situation in terms of when we are talking about treaties. Treaties can be signed by parties, but the onus remains on the diplomats. And this is where I have to commend Mr. Aguirre and over the years and the program he's been pushing, simply because we need to strengthen our diplomatic corps from now onward. It is much more important than ever. Why? Because the treaties, and we've read from media statements this last couple of days that the treaty talks, and the Pupuk Treaty is saying that if one party goes to war, the other party will come to support. Or if the other party goes to has some conflict, the other party will come and support. That in itself, like what most of the commentators are saying, is counterproductive for both sides also, because if country A has a conflict with country B, now PNG has good relationship with country B, but because I'm signing treaty with them country A, that treaty calls them you must go support him A, lopay on them B. That's fine at the other level, but this is where diplomats and foreign policy formulation and assessments come into play now. If you are on the dot, if your foreign service is spot on, the M can detect him visual indicators of come on well before this election happen, then I'm work by you as a diplomat to go in between and try to solve it before anything happens. We know, yeah, treaty you may sign in finish, but you may can go to country A and talk country A. Mate, listen. You block lo biro lo lainnya, but MIPLA got 2,000 students study lo hap and no suppose you sa trome or bomb or something go how bang plaraw small mangi bang come out. Which is why I'm saying diplomacy is so important, much more important than ever today. to ensure that we mitigate and maneuver the treaties, the adverse effects of any such treaties in the future. Which is why I am of the opinion that our bilateral relations with our bilateral partners in the region are stronger than ever. Now, once we start rowing in the direction of the treaty, then nemna ba imi bagarap now. Suppose you me tokosem no treaty tokosem, so you must go tromiston los laos. But how you go tromiston los laos? Suppose you got tupla tambu to stop los laos. So first things first, before you go tromiston, sensible human being ba gonna look him not la party na to mate listen no tupla tambu blomi stop upside na also bam school fee blomi na bam kake blomi enough you me solve him something outside before you start go throw me stone. Those options and alternatives are there, and this is where the diplomats come in. And like the saying goes, yeah, the conflict or warfare is the last option. All diplomatic negotiations and options must all be exhausted before you go throw me stone. So, bosiga tompla chance where by disallowing you no can go throw me stone, use him. So this is a time when we must start strengthening our bilateral relations throughout the region. Once you may walk in Mosem, all big plan, but because Molena lo busy lo yumi because yumi lo fight lo region blow na all okay, all strong in friendship blow no stop, but no use. That's my own point of view on answering the question number one, Sweden.
Okay, thank you. So now I'll move on to question number two. In your discussion on roles of agriculture and tourism in shaping PNG foreign policy highlights the untapped potential of countries, natural and cultural wealth. Papua New Guinea is home to one of the most diverse ecosystem and richest culture landscape in the world, a set that goes far beyond economic value. In a global arena where soft power and identity matters, these resources can be leveraged not just for trade but for influence, visibility, and long-term partnerships. So, how can PNG use its culture, heritage, and biodiversity as a strategic asset in international negotiation and partnership to strengthen its global presence and attract sustainable investment?
But there are several parts to answering that question. One, funding. If we had enough funding, we would be hosting tourism, 6, 7 tourism expos throughout the world or domestically, where we would invite and pay for our important priority strategic partners to come. Na looking this all resources which Yumi got lo country or the other way around. Secondly, our country is blessed with all the flora and fauna which are not found around most parts of the world. So we have naturalists and botanists and agriculturalists, people coming to visit, to do studies, do their PhDs, and do all these studies and stuff within our country. If we have mechanisms to ensure that we have twinning programs within our universities, that's one way of improving our bilateral relations with other countries also. Okay, so funding is so important. For instance, we had the 50th anniversary celebrations last week or a couple of weeks ago. If we had funding, we would have spreaded the celebrations to 3 or 4 parts of the country, and then ask the leaders to have for the leaders who are visiting and for their bilateral meetings, we could fly them to have visit Kokopo or Rabaul, and PM can have bilateral meetings with 2 or 3 leaders over there, then come back with all the traditional galas and finery being promoted over there, then fly them up to Hagen or Goroka to have the same with other bilateral leaders before coming up for flag raising and flag lowering ceremonies. In that way, within one festival, we can promote our country and hold our promote our country to investment by ensuring that we bring leaders. For instance, if a leader is saying that we would like to sign an agriculture MOU with your leaders, and then knowing that agriculture and maybe cocoa is part of the MOU, then by all means bring the two leaders to Rabaul, Kokopo, to sign it over there so they can have a look around the plantations and factories over there. Excuse me. So you see, if we use our money properly and accordingly, we can drive our foreign policy agendas that way, our national interests that way. Okay, as leverage. And same also for holding them outside. When I was in China, we had three investment expos. One of the expos was in 2003 when then Prime Minister Sir Michael Somare led a huge government delegation and a business delegation for a commemoration ceremony there. And then we had a big expo, 2-day expo on the side where IPA and invited companies or companies who would have made a trip to promote the goods and product. Ramu Nicolo on there, they were all there. Okay, they were all there to promote it. So you see, that costs money. I'm not sure. I'm not aware of us doing such expos in the last 5 years around the world. Okay, so Sweden, I'll answer your question like that.
Thank you. So now moving on to the third question. So in your presentation, you have emphasized on aligning foreign policy initiative with structured program and budgetary framework, highlight the need for strategic planning and innovations within PNG diplomatic institution. In a rapid evolving global environment, traditional approach and a traditional approach may not be enough to address emerging challenges or seize new opportunities. Encouraging experimentation and forward thinking could be key to unlock more adaptive and impactful policy solutions. Now, to my question, is it possible to create a foreign policy incubator within the Department of Foreign Affairs where new ideas are tested, refined, and evaluated before being scaled nationally to ensure relevance and effectiveness?
Sorry about that. Yes, it is possible if you because the Department of Foreign Affairs already has the structures in place there. They have a bilateral divisions, they have multilateral divisions, and they have other think tank divisions there whose roles are to think about ways to advance our foreign policy and our national interest. That is the role of our foreign service. You sit down every day and thinking how we advance the interest of the country go forward based on this policy, and this policy. Utilizing the think tank organization is part of it. Okay, the NRI, all the other the universities, Divine Word, they are all there to be part of it. But look, they did not utilize the academia for the foreign policy review, foreign policy white paper review. So that's one gap over there. And in the APEC system, when we back in the early days, 2010, 2011, 2012, we were all we Papua New Guineans were overawed by the fact that these economies were presenting really high-powered data and on particular topics on any particular agenda. We found out later that they were bringing the academia to support them do that. They were bringing the experts, and it's human nature. Once you go to a meeting and it's out of your, I mean, it's out of your space. You bring in the experts. No man is an island. If we are going to go to a meeting and we're going to talk about price control, and I'm using Dan Ambassador Pomalu's examples. When the agendas were on competition law and price control, he brought in Dr. Billy Manoka to sit there and talk. So according to the room, this is PNG talking, but the PNG delegation knows that it is Dr. Billy Manoka talking because he's the expert in that field, not Ambassador Pomaliu, not Lahu Yako, not anybody. So you stand up, move backwards, Dr. Billy sits down and talk. And once it came to forestry, Dr. Billy Manoka stood up, moved aside, Ivan Pomaliu moved to the side, and Dr. Ruth Turia sat down and talked on forestry. It is the PNG team talking. That is how diplomacy is run and should be run. To read from a script because you think that the traditionally you are the diplomat and you're supposed to be reading from the script. Of course, you can do that so long as the proper brief and talking points are sent from home for you to do it. But if the expert is there on the ground, you allow him to take the front and talk. Because why that is so important is because suppose not alone ask him question. You me no got say we can't answer him, but the expert and talk and answer him, and we score and we get the points for it. It's as simple as that, you know. I mean, for goodness, if somebody about what somebody right now, I mean, if one of you who knows his cars ask me about what a carburetor is, me but Paul, I'll be googling it. Unless there's a mechanic sitting there, but talking me straight, carburetor work on this. So it's important to ensure that the best person sits in front and flies the flag in order to address all those imaging challenges that have happened, especially that have happened post COVID-19. You might be you can have your experiences and your titles pre-COVID, but you need to relook at those experiences and expertise now because COVID-19 made everyone start talking. We are the result of COVID-19. This past 4 years, our lectures are the result of that. It promoted the meeting on Zoom, meeting offline. You know, so it's important that diplomacy must always involve a sense of humility, so that the best person is there to represent the country. Okay, I mean, when they pick the PNG national side for rugby league, always pick him man na all man. People go through a couple of selection trials to get selected for the final 20-man or 18-man squad to make the Kumals. And that's what we're talking about. The best people go for the job. Okay, Sweden.
Thank you. Now to my fourth question. So, reflecting on the diplomatic sensitivities discussed around Chinese Taipei's representation in APEC, could PNG have play a mediating role in regional tension, such as those between China and Taiwan, or is that too risky for a small state?
No, that's a very good, interesting question. No, it's not too risky. It's not risky, and there's no need to play a balancing role in that in the region, because in terms of APEC, it's all part of the 1991 MOU already. These are the parameters. when it comes to Chinese Taipei, these are the parameters you abide by, you work within. Like I said, yeah. So when you are sending the invite for the Chinese Taipei leader to attend APEC, he or she knows that the invitation come late, but he has to give it to a proxy. Same goes for the AMM, the APEC ministers meeting, which is attended by foreign ministers. Same goes for that too. They always send economic development portfolio minister, also for the trade minister. So it's no, there is nothing sinister about not interacting with both the PRC or Chinese Taipei. There's nothing sinister about it. So long as you have the APEC MOU to guide you, you will not go wrong on that. Oh, and also when you come outside the APEC space, then we abide by our one China policy, which is why every bilateral meeting PNG has with China, the PNG team leader or the PNG leader is always reminded by the technical officers that always mention that PNG supports the one China policy. That must always be mentioned because all by record him lapse. Okay, suppose mention him, then it can although you mean him, but you losing thing to mention him, then it will show a wrong signal. And then you might have one of the officials come in front, one of your mates from the other side fronting up to you and saying, "Hey, man, Bosco meeting, you plan to mention him one China." No, it's so important that when you are preparing your talking points, blow during any Chinese ballot, always mention that PNG supports the one China policy, and we intend to support it so long as we have bilateral relations, and then you talk all not all issues.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to the second last question. So in your remarks on the need for innovation in diplomacy, especially in resource constrained environment, could PNG become a regional leader in digital diplomacy by using technology to overcome limitations in staffing and infrastructure?
I think we can. I think we can do that, but we can go one better than that. We can work with what we have. So what we have at the moment at our disposal, we can work on that, and then use our bilateral relations to support, build it up. And then this is where once we start talking about using bilateral relations to support, build any of these capabilities up, then into the equation immediately comes the treaty and then all these other configurations. So we need to learn, we must be smart enough to break those things up na progress in IDWM, because note very well that each development partner has its own way of giving aid, and has its own way of ensuring that, has its own way of encouraging how PNG can utilize or implement the aid Emoklokisima. For instance, the Japanese, they are more into infrastructure development. You look at our Australian partners, they are more into providing technical expertise to drive an initiative forward. Same might go for the Americans. So we need to understand those dynamics, and then time we sit down, we start talking about economic development and innovation, how to make sure that I think what you're actually saying is how to utilize what we have to make them become force multipliers. So you support, you train someone so that just like the trainer, but you train someone so that whatever output and give him, it can multiply for the benefit of for the benefit of our people. So if we are following the advances of the Department of ICT, then we can see how they are really moving to ensure that innovation in diplomacy and innovation in terms of force multiplying happens. Okay, so that is one important aspect of it, and this our financial constraints should not stop people from thinking outside the box of innovative ideas. Whatever innovative ideas those said that thinking or policy level think about, they must write them up and put them out as concept notes for the managers to see. Don't just think about it and lose him stuff just because you think you know have money. Put it out. This country needs innovativeness, and innovativeness can only come if you put your ideas into paper. Lo tingting so na throw talking about. I mean, that's how this all the Facebook people, all the Facebook creators and WhatsApp creators. This is how they all came up. They put their ideas into paper, and then made it happen. So it is important to ensure that we work with what we have, but that doesn't stop us in dreaming. And in those dreams, write your dreams up, and then cost them out and start selling the idea to whoever can listen to it. Okay, Sweden. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ako. Now to my final sixth question. Okay. This is a question derived from Crystal Alex observation. So, Crystal Alex, Crystal Alex observation about the diplomatic sensitivity surrounding Chinese Taipei's representation in APEC, bringing attention to a broader challenge faced by smaller economic like PNG and how to operate within multi-level forums where geopolitically tensions often save procedural norms. These complexities can limit the ability of smaller states to assert their interest or maintain neutrality. So given this context, could PNG propose a new protocol within APEC that helps smaller economic navigate politically sensitive representation issue more transparently and equitably without compromising diplomatic relationship?
Okay. Before I answer your question, you have to understand that APEC is an economic forum. Okay, it is not a political forum. So once you start driving the political agenda, you'll be shut down. Someone will just leave the flag up and tell you, sorry, could I remind the, or the chair will tell you, could I remind the senior officer from Papua New Guinea that APEC is an economic forum and we will maintain our APEC protocols. But that doesn't stop you from meeting in bilateral meetings outside of the meeting arrangement. In between the meetings, you organize your bilateral meetings, then you can go and talk about your mutual issues that is affecting your relations. And that can cover from political to social to economic to spiritual, anything. But it's now a one-on-one in an enclosed room. Okay? Now, in terms of the Chinese Taipei are an equal player in APEC. They are not smaller, they are not bigger. This which is the reason why you all must understand that everyone in APEC is equal, regardless of the size of your country. Which is why you have a horseshoe or round table type of meeting arrangement. If you go to the APEC website, you will see that all the meetings are in a circle form. So no one is at the head. The only person that is chairing will chair. Apart from that, everyone is seated from alphabet A all the way down to the US or Vietnam V on this side. Okay, so there is no political sensitivities in an APEC fora. If you want to discuss bilateral relations, you organize a bilateral meeting with your APEC counterpart. You go sit down and you start talking. And you will realize that during those, especially the ministers' meetings, or especially during leaders' meeting, they bring in their experts. They are experts in China, Chinese, they're experts in trade, they're experts in military or security. They bring them. So if it's a bilat, let's just assume that I won't name any economy. So let's just assume that in next month's now September, in November's APEC leaders meeting in Seoul, two economies are going to have a bilateral meet. They are now their teams are now working towards having this bilateral meeting so that they can go and sit and talk about next steps from a particular treaty they signed. From a particular defense treaty they signed a couple of months ago. So these two economies are going to sit down, and on each side of their leaders will be military experts, police, foreign affairs, sitting there to tidy down or iron out any difficulties or side issues that might have encountered from the treaty they signed a couple of months ago. That's where you go and discuss your bilateral issues. But lo APEC alone, no God. You start talking about climate change, the chair will stop you. You start one good example I heard from my mates was during the Ukraine war, or the current Ukraine war. But when it started, time all invaders like Totoglo, sample issues no start tanim ligli golsem lo round blow lo Ukraine all man talking all. This like no forum blow Totoglo war. You la Totoglo war, you go to UN na go Totogla. We're talking about economic development here. How by me, ensure that the supply chains are not cut, all these things. So which is why it makes APEC the most perfect for a small economy like Papua New Guinea to go and push its national interest forward from economic development is what we want. The reason for having a treaty, the reason for trying to secure yourself is, what are you trying to secure? You are trying to secure your resources, and the resources are what? Resources are economic. And APEC provides that. And not only APEC is an organization that is made up of 54, 55, 56% of the world's economy are in APEC. 90% of our trading partners are APEC member economies. So once you look at that demographics, why do we want to go and waste time in the Pacific? All got kauko, you got kauko. So when I'm something, you may put him where all the Karim come, but you may Karim go put in, but you may kaka want but you may grow. That is how we should be looking at our national interest. If we are trying to be charitable, that's fine, we can be charitable. But when we are talking about hard economic development facts, those things would come into play. The return on investments should come to the fore when we are talking. And when once you finish from school, you are joining workforce, and you have an opportunity to round or one soul war have me. Always talking more. You play really glad, you play big players. So time you talk want them really respect. We are not equals. Okay, I understand it. You may not equal. We are friends, yeah, but you may not equal. That must make you must make them understand that is how we advance our national interest. When you have a rugby league match, now you may always watch in NRL. Well, 99% of us. Now, when the kickoff happens, almost a kickoff goal to wing, or a kickoff goal to tumble through. Now, who racks the ball up? One to travel forwards, a running ball up, one to prop. Now, the props are used purposely to drive the team's national interest. So who meets that prop? Well, not a prop, but it's like country again. Lord, drive him national interest goal by putting this guy down. So you look at him. Now, those are equals. Now, when the kickoff happens, almost a kickoff goal to tumble through. Now, who racks the ball up? One to travel forwards, a running ball up, one to prop. Now, the props are used purposely to drive the team's national interest. So who meets that prop? Well, not a prop, but it's like country again. Now, if we are trying to go into the Pacific and play rugby, look at our bilateral relations in a rugby league type of way, and we are kicking down and then all calm. Now, we're not trying to hit them, but just calling them, aiming up, just playing ball. Then we are not driving Papua New Guinea's interest. In diplomacy, there is no personal convictions. When you are sent abroad, you must strongly man through. Or Salim, go abroad. And you look at a proper, you look at a living example of our vote in the UN in the last 24, 48 hours, where we voted against Palestine being recognized as a country. That's national interest. Regardless of personal interest blows, our ambassador over there, and law blow country and carry me. So I'm go throw me. I'm not sure whether I could have done it. I'm not sure whether anyone else could have done it, but I'm strong man through and go stand up for national interest. I'm not stand up for personal interest. Blank. So diplomacy is all about national interest, which is why it brings us back to our regular query on when our new foreign policy white paper will be coming. The foreign policy white paper will give us guidance on where to cast our votes, where to stand. Because that's national interest, all encompassed in a document for us to use and play abroad.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ako, for your wonderful response. So, one thing before I go, so you have mentioned about the new foreign policy white paper. So they said that the new policy white paper will be released in September. So is it any information or do you know anything about this foreign white paper?
We've followed up and we're still waiting for responses from the people whom we followed up with. I think I'll answer your question like that.
Okay, thank you for your answers.
Okay, thank you, Sweden, and thank you, Mr. Ako, for sharing with us your comments and answers to your question. I hope the rest of you have gained some new knowledge, new insight just by listening to both of them converse. We'll move on to our next attendee, Michaelin. We'll have Michaelin to ask her questions and make her comments, and then we'll move on to Valerie. Michaelin, please go ahead. You have unmute, but maybe there's an issue with your microphone, or we can't hear what you're saying. I'll give you a few minutes to check your mic. Or you can move to someone who's sitting next to you, or someone who's next to you, so you can use their microphone. We will move on to Valerie. Please, Valerie, go ahead.
Good night, everyone. Can you guys hear me? Thank you. So I'll go straight into my comments and my questions. So I have a total of 5 comments and 5 questions. So my first comment is PNG struggles in agricultural products, especially to Australia, due to strict quarantine and disease concerns, which demonstrate the country's weak compliance systems. So agriculture should be one of PNG's strongest industries, but it is being held back by poor governance, underinvestment in biosecurity, and lack of infrastructure. So I believe that if PNG fails to modernize this sector, it will continue to miss out on huge opportunities in global and regional trade. While regional partnerships like MSG and potential Asian membership of hope, PNG must first strengthen its own institutions capacity. My second comment is Mr. Ako criticized poor documentation in PNG's diplomacy, highlighting a surprisingly basic but damaging weakness. So failing to properly record commitments, agreements, and ministerial statements creates confusion and leads to broken promises in international engagements. This lack of professionalism reflects poorly on PNG and undermines years of relationship building with countries. Diplomacy depends on clarity and accountability, and without proper training in documentation, PNG's growing involvement in China's Belt and Road Initiative is both an opportunity and danger. So while it can bring development and trade benefits, I worry it could also make us too dependent if we don't make sure the partnerships are equal and protect our sovereignty. So a clear example, the Ramoniko project in Medellin province, which is Chinese operated and has often sparked concerns about environmental damage, landowner dissatisfaction, and limited benefits following back to local communities. So situations like this show why PNG must be cautious and ensure that foreign-backed projects are managed in ways that protect both our resources and our people. My fourth comment is in my view, PNG's engagement with APEC and the Asia Pacific is important, but I don't like how it seems to rely so heavily on the leadership of one prime minister. Foreign policy should be built on strong institutions, not personalities. So it can be consistent no matter who is in power. For instance, under Peter O'Neill, PNG pushed strongly for APEC 2018, but after he stepped down, much of that momentum disappeared, showing how fragile policy can be when it depends on one leader. And my last comment is personally, I feel frustrated that there's still such a big gap between our foreign policy plans and actual implementation. So if we keep producing reports and white papers without follow through, it damages both our reputation abroad and the trust of our own citizens. So for example, PNG's foreign policy in 2017 review called for a modernize modernizing the foreign service. But years later, many missions still lack proper ICT systems and rely on outdated methods, making it difficult to keep up with today's fast-paced diplomacy. Thank you. That concludes all my comments. I'll move on to my questions. So my first So my first question to Mr. He can answer this question. I'll move on to my other questions. So my first question is, MTDP4 aims to balance relationships with Australia, China, and the US. So is this an effective strategy, or is PNG risking being caught in great power rivalry?
I didn't catch the first part of your question. What is MTDP4 affecting the four countries you've mentioned?
MTDP4 aims to balance relationship with these four countries. So my question is it an effective strategy, or is PNG risking being caught in rivalry between these four countries?
Got it. No, I don't think it's a risky strategy, because when you look at the SPA 12, it talks about affecting our international relations with our bilateral partners. And in that SPA, you will look at the DIPs and what do the DIPs mention. So if we are implementing our foreign policy, it should also encompass what's in the MTDP4, and not only FPA 12 but all the other SPAs as well, on connectivity, on the economic SPA 1, SPA 2, and those that talk about digital governance and all that. So I think our senior bureaucrats thought this very hard, and then put the SPAs in place to safeguard us against the risks you are mentioning, Valerie.
All right, thank you. I'll move on to my second question. What specific reforms are needed to make PNG's agriculture exports compliant with international standards?
That's a very, very hard question to answer, because I say hard because you have to look at the structure of the governance mechanism in the agriculture sector. So we have a department of we have a Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock, which has a department. Then we have the ministries of coffee and the other two agriculture-based ministries. They don't have departments, you see. So which means that the Department of DAL now has to cater for the other three ministries. And that part, talking with a couple of experts in that sector, they debate the fact that if they had made let me put it this way: if they had not been any those other ministries should also have departments of their own to make them more effective. But because the DAL department in its current structure is now has triple responsibilities now, also to cover coffee and the other ministries. So that makes it quite challenging for a sector to achieve its outcomes. Yes. Okay. And I'm not. I don't want to go into the commodities, which are also another governance challenge. Also, the commodities, and those have been set up by regulations and law. So how are we supposed to merge them to make sure that we pull in one direction? How does the National Agriculture Plan cover all this? And although it covers all that, But then within that plan, then you have to break it up into oil palm and coffee, and so it, it it's a case of having too many people to talk to the referee in a rugby league match. I'll put it that way.
Thank you. That was a very clear explanation to my question. So I'll move on to my third question. What safeguards should be included in future Belt and Road Initiative agreements?
From my own point of view, apart from the actual signing of any particular project covered under BRI, the main safety net we have is the MTDP4. Or when you mention future, how the MTDP5 will be set up. When you look at the MTDP3, it was built around sectors, and then coming into the MTDP4, it now has SPAs to cover. All those sectors have not been grouped into the 12 SPAs. We don't know how the MTDP5 will be structured to cover, to make up for development partners. SPA 12 talks about development cooperation and development partners, but also there is SPA 2 talking about PNG Connect. So a balance has to be ruled out. And of course, there are the agreements in place which you sign off all those projects. But again, going back to the idea of project management, and one of our colleagues on Tuesday mentioned about monitoring and evaluation, which is why it's very important that I advocate for the foreign policy to be included under project management process, so that immediately the MNE comes into play. We leave it open-ended. Then I'm up to you. You working evaluation or NOGAT, regular evaluation, NOGAT, you wait every 2 or 3 years, you do a review. And by the time, even in 1 year, a lot happens in geopolitics or in diplomacy. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Fourth question is, how do financial challenge All right, sorry. I can repeat that. Can you hear me?
Repeat the question, please.
All right. So how do financial challenges such as reduced budgets affect PNG's ability to engage in international diplomacy?
Reduced budget means that the number of delegation you would like to bring to an international meeting has to be reduced. And if it's so important that you want these 2 experts to come with you, then you have to decide that either 1 or 2 of the bosses must be asked to stay back or not. But any one of the two members of parliament have been invited by the prime minister, then they have to go. So financial constraints have to mean that you need to start prioritizing. In other instances, you need to start prioritizing, let's say, a policy contribution. You want to do a policy contribution in one of the international forums, and you need to fund a workshop out there on the margins of that conference, where you want to invite a couple of bilateral partners to come and sit in the room to hear you pitch an idea. That will cost money also. Okay. If that idea is so important that you need to pitch it through PowerPoint presentations by our experts, then it means having the spending money. Like in 2017, we in Vietnam, which was maybe a month before we kicked off our host, we had to spend not much, maybe $2,000 or $3,000 to hire a hotel room, breakfast, and invite Apex senior officials and their plus twos to come and listen to our final policy priorities. This was in Vietnam. So we had to do that because the weeks leading up to the closing senior official meeting, there were still economists doubting our ability to deliver. So we sought Prime Minister's approval, and he approved and said, okay, organize this. So we organized that breakfast meeting from 6:30 to 8:30 for 2 hours, and it enabled the policy teams, the logistics teams, and the security teams, including the military, the police, and the army experts were there to inform the senior officials who were also there that this is what's in place at the moment. So that financial constraints can affect that. Financial constraints can affect, we all know very well, it affects our rentals to our embassies, high commissions. It affects paying our diplomats their overseas living allowances abroad. And, every one of us know that, new students are feeling it very well there. All of us went through it and felt it. That right now, line no salim coins or you zero balance and stuff, it makes you feel very vulnerable. Okay? And that's the same feeling you have there out on post. When you have the landlord coming regularly to the office to ask for the rentals which have not been paid for the last 3, 4, 5 months, that can be a very challenging situation for you and the family. Or allowances are not paid, or only one allowance is paid. Not very well that for diplomats abroad, every one of them is paid their allowances. The diplomat, the spouse, and all the children have a share. They are paid an allowance every fortnight. So there are some who are paid allowances. There are some missions who are paid allowances in US dollars. There are some missions who are paid allowances in pounds, some in Australian dollars, some in the currency of the country they're in. So all those have to be taken into consideration. Okay, and I'm not talking about the HR challenges also. Okay, so you have to pay your locally engaged staff, and in some economies, some locally engaged staff are paid more higher than the diplomats because of the labor laws. Okay, and that can cause some anxiety among the people who are working there. But that's how it is. Or sometimes financial constraints will not allow you from visiting the other countries which you are accredited to. Like our embassy in New Zealand New Zealand covers the Pacific Island countries. So the High Commissioner there must pay regular visit to these countries to maintain our bilateral relations with those Pacific Island countries. Same goes for our High Commission in Malaysia. I think it covers Thailand and Thailand, while the High Commission in Jakarta covers Vietnam and Laos and the others. So you need to pay visits to always regularly. Regularly could mean quarterly. Just going across to those countries to show that we are here, bumipla running bilateral process, bumipla and all that. So then if that's the case, then we need innovative heads of missions who can who have the tendency to ensure the multiplier effect, in the operations. So it's a very challenging situation when you are constrained financially to work. Okay. Sometimes you won't have fuel to drive, get you on your official car to attend a meeting. Okay. So then you can realize how we work with our bilateral partners to fill some of the gaps. And then it's a give and take thing. So time by come when the bilateral partner will need to call on you for the same service and you need to deliver. That's why going back to our first session, the first question in this session, the national interest, you strong command, you maintain national interest and stuff. If personal convictions blue, you overpower MMU, and you perform according to your personal convictions, then personally you might feel redemption, but for the national interest and for those you are representing, it might be a letdown. So it's a really tight rope diplomats have to walk. Some diplomats, for me, in my experience, my time in China, I did not have any, we did not feel any financial constraints. Our quarterly allocations arrived on time. And we were able to budget accordingly to use it to go around the provinces to, or bring in IPA and TPA to attend all the regular expositions with the Chinese provinces in China have a tendency of doing. And because China is such a huge country, huge economy, their provincial governments are like they are huge, and they have their own protocol, international relations sections. And every week or every second week, they are hosting investment symposium. And they're inviting all the embassies in Beijing to attend so that they can showcase their province and seek investment from these embassies, these countries. You see, so China itself, the national government doesn't organize it. Their provincial governments go about and they promote their agriculture resources. They promote their flora and they promote their tourism, their art and culture. The provinces do that. So you can see how, while we as a small country, we work towards doing it as a national engagement, while huge economies like the Chinese and maybe others, they let the provincial governments do that, which is the reason why we need to start playing smart and coming up with sister city relations, sister province relations. You see, this type of relationship can overcome financial constraints. Okay, fine. Our quarterly arrangement didn't come, but because a couple of years ago, one of the ministers had the vision of signing a sister province relations with this particular province in China. Let me go and see the governor of that area and say, listen, are you able to lead a investment delegation down to the province in Papua New Guinea and continue promoting our bilateral relations? You see, those are ways it can be done. It's all there. All the sister province relations, sister city relations are all with many, with some of the provinces and cities in China are still there to be maintained. The onus is on the Papua New Guinean on the ground and our responsible departments to ensure that to connect that. If you were a part of the ASEAN desk or what in a particular department in the country, you should be looking at those policy initiatives and going across to the embassy here and telling them, listen, we've got this arrangement. How can we make our relationship become more stronger? How can we make our province or city in Goroka and its sister city or province up in Hainan or Hunan or Hanan. How by making this like province to province relations come stronger, and in that way we are also contributing to strengthening bilateral relations between Papua New Guinea and China. All those things are there. All Papa Blimil or 1970s, 1980s, all no long, all go. They had the vision of doing that. Now the onus is on us to carry that legacy forward. I mean, what's the use of reading about a sister province relations signed in 1988 between this province and that province in China? We're not doing anything about it. And yet we're talking about how to strengthen our bilateral relations. You're talking about arts and culture. You will promote it nicely through the provincial system instead of going as a national body.
Thank you, Mr. And to my last and final question, since we've celebrated in the 50 years of independence, in your opinion, what should be PNG's top 3 foreign policy priorities over the next decade or next years?
That's an interesting one. And I do remember reminding ourselves that the defense week we had was one of the biggest foreign policy exercises this country has had since 2018. Okay, so my take on our foreign policy objectives going forward would be utilizing the defense relations we strengthened during Defense Week, bringing them to the next level, and maybe towards looking at defense cooperation arrangements with each of those countries. And this defense cooperation arrangement would look at having our officers attend military colleges or command colleges in those countries. The more people we send out to any country brings back different ideas. Okay, and then we look at the number of traditional groups who perform throughout the week to celebrate our coming to the independence celebrations now. How do we ensure that there is continuity in those dancing groups? Most of them would have registered dancing associations or companies to support them do this thing. How do we advance their interest? And that's where the MSMEs and the SMEs come in. So one of the biggest objectives looking at it now would be promoting our Papua New Guinea's heritage. I don't want to say culture, but promoting Papua New Guinea's heritage abroad. That should cover what we've talked about in the last hour. And then economic development goes hand in hand with all the economic development is the key in any bilateral relations. Okay. And then we bring it across to the diaspora in Australia. And we saw on TV, on YouTube, of the Queensland, Papua New Guineans in Queensland. And I had the commentator saying that there's 17,000 Papua New Guineans in Queensland. Now, with that number, how do we ensure that they contribute to our economy? Most of them, they are professionals. Most of them run their own companies. But how do we, what mechanisms can we put in place to make sure that they contribute back to our economy? We have, at a lower level, we have the fruit picking or labor mobility guys, especially the Hanobara boys. And I have to commend all those Hanobara boys who've gone down there, because most of them have gone down in the last 3-4 years, saved up, and they've come back, built houses, paid their bride prices, covered their traditional obligations. And that's what it is all about. And of course, the regular sending up of money. In 2022, when I was doing some work for the Motokoita Assembly, I checked at the Western Union, and by then there was only less than 30 Hanobarans abroad. I'm not talking about the other Motokoitabon villages. I'm talking about Hanobara itself. There were less than 30 Hanobarans abroad, and they sent money up weekly. I spent a week every 2 and 3 every day between 2 and 4 p.m. at the Western Union at the waterfront, and I estimated that there was about 3,000 Australian dollars being sent every week. Kamlo place. Lo sapoti mo Mrs. Blow, sapoti Mama Papa Blow, or saving money, building house, or wedding, all those things. Right now, there's more than 50, 60 boys working down there. So you can imagine the number of foreign currency coming this way. No, they're probably ending $1,002, $1,005 a week. And after they pay up their rentals, na cable house, na transportation costs, and also, they send maybe an average of $300 a week. So if you're looking at 50 boys sending $300 a week, that's how much? 15,000, huh? 15,000 or 1,500? $15,000 coming up in a week. Now, if we can have those 17,000 Papua New Guineans doing the same, you do the maths, and we look at the economic benefits coming up this way. But there must be benefits here for them to invest. And it will be interesting to see how the Business Council of Papua New Guinea moves in that direction in the next 2 years, because they've commenced working with they've made 2-3 visits in the last 12 months to have engagements with the PNG diaspora in Queensland, and we should see some outcomes in the next 12 months. We'll closely monitor that situation. So yeah, that's both ways. Valerie, thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Valerina. Thank you through Mr. Ako. We'll move on to our next attendee. We'll go back to Macklin. Macklin said she fixed the issue, so she's going to use Jocelyn's computer. Macklin, go ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay. Good night, Mr. Akon, Mr. Yeager, and everyone. I have 4 comments and 5 questions, all from topic 9 and 10. So my first 3 comments based on topic 9. First comment is, I think the drop in the Department of Foreign Affairs budget from 75 million Kenyans in 2013 to just 44 million in 2017 isn't just about numbers. I think that it reflects how foreign policy is being deprioritized in our national planning. When PNG lost its voting rights at the UN because of unpaid dues, it wasn't just an administrative issue. It was a blow to our credibility and influence on the global stage. As a student, I see this as a wake-up. If we want to be taken seriously in regional and international forums, we need to invest in the very institutions that represent us. My second comment, from what I've read, the 6 strategic objectives in the foreign policy review really show that PNG will step up as a regional leader. I feel like having strong goals isn't enough if we don't have the capacity to actually implement them. With our proper funding, trained personnel, and follow through, these objectives might just stay on paper instead of driving real change. That is just my opinion. Third comment, during the presentation, what really stood out to me was how PNG continued to push for a leadership role in the Pacific, even in the face of significant financial constraints. This demonstrates a strong sense of ambition and pride in our regional identity. However, it also highlights a clear gap in our aspirations and our actual capacity to deliver on those goals. Without adequate funding and robust support systems, there is a real risk that these leadership ambitions may remain largely rhetorical and translating into meaningful actions and outcomes. My last comment is based on Tuesday's presentation. Applying project management principles to foreign policy is a progressive and promising idea. It offers a structured way to plan, execute, and evaluate diplomatic initiatives, which could help improve accountability and ensure that goals met and within budget. However, this approach assumes that government departments already have the capacity, discipline, resources to manage complex projects effectively. In reality, many departments in Papua New Guinea face serious limitations, such as shortage of trained personnel, outdated systems, and a lack of digital tools. For example, if the Department of Foreign Affairs was tasked with organizing a regional trade summit, project management would require detailed scheduling, budget tracking, stakeholder coordination, and post-event evaluation. Without the necessary infrastructure or skilled staff, this task could easily fall apart, leading to delays or ineffective outcomes. Therefore, I think that before fully adopting project management in foreign policy, PNG must first invest in capacity building, digital infrastructure, and staff training. Only then can project management become a ethical and sustainable solution rather than just a theoretical idea. Moving on to my questions based on topic 9. My first question is, during the lecture, Mr. You spoke about the impact of global media and migration on PNG's culture and international image. In what ways can PNG strengthen its national media to better represent its interest and culture on the global stage?
I think we need to help support build their capacity in investigative journalism. If we look at the MTV, there was a program which Commodore Ila was interviewed for about 30 minutes, talking on providing his views on the Puk Puk treaty. That was one of the best ever interviews I saw with regards to some policy-oriented discussion. And the host was also had done his homework well, so he kept on asking. He asked a couple of penetrative questions, which enabled Ambassador Ilau to think through his answers before he provided them, and he also provided great answers. So we need more of those. When we see it every day, we see it on CNN, on ABC. You have people talking about. We see journalists talking with convincingly about issues they've done work on, and that's not taken lightly because they've done a lot of readings on them, and they because of those readings and that knowledge they've acquired from those readings, it helps them to present this issue and also ask the experts across the table on what their thoughts on it. So that will be the. I think we need to have journalists who can read and read and read and provide all types of angles tomorrow. You have a talk with tomorrow's engagement with Mr. Henao. Mr. Henao he knows a lot of things, and we will see how he handles different types of questions. From you ask a question about sector A, and all of a sudden the next person asks a question about sector F, and then the following day he asks about sector Z, and he will answer all of them. And I've asked him why that is so, and he said because he reads. He reads the Wall Street Journal. How many of us here read the Wall Street Journal? But he does that, so that's why he gets his all geopolitical knowledge from reading aloud. And I think the same goes for other experts, just like the others as well. Okay. Thank you, Michaeline. Yeah.
My second question is, in your presentation, you emphasize the need for a generational shift in the foreign service, pointing out the challenges of an aging diplomatic workforce and the importance of recruiting and training new talent. What initiatives could be introduced to attract, train, and retain a new generation of diplomats who are equipped to handle the evolving demands of PNG's foreign policy?
Firstly, we need to come up with our own foreign service institution. Okay, we need to come up with our own foreign service institution, and within that foreign service institution, we have tons. I'm sure with tons. We have tons of former ambassadors, former high commissioners, former foreign secretaries, former chief secretaries. We utilize them to talk about to provide the experiences. Okay, and while we are still thinking about how we're going to come up with a foreign service institution, the divine word stands is the next best option to continue this engagement through this program until such time that we have a foreign service institution. Then we can work together, complementing each other. But that's the way. That's the only way. Through training, nothing works through training. Everything works through training, and we are now allowing a generation to think that what this experienced lady or gentleman is talking about is the gospel. It must be followed through with real training, and those training must be assessed also. And all the students are assessed for it, and they either pass it or they fail them, and they go through other assessments again to ensure that they pass. It's very important in the foreign service sector. People should be tested for their knowledge. Why that is so important is because once we play abroad, we are playing against PhD holders, double masters, triple masters out there, and we need to be on our toes to balance it with them. If we cannot go out there and come up with a research piece to push a policy agenda and get it passed, or we are trying to push a policy agenda and we cannot get it passed simply because you miss short low sampler information, and that's the result of it. So I think we are now 50 years old. You may not go school outside. I personally think you may not go school or some foreign service school number outside. And something the 1980s, 1990s. Right now we have the expertise. We have a ton of retired for experience and highly profiled foreign service officers to provide us that. What better way than to pioneer one a couple of millions, put it aside, and start an institution? Now bring all these old people and their 20, 30, 40 years of experience can be transferred onto the minds and shoulders of the next generation to move forward. That's how I see it, and I want to apologize to anyone who thinks that we still need to go and do a foreign service school somewhere outside of Papua New Guinea. No, God.
All right, thank you. My third question, it's based on topic 10. So in your presentation, you mentioned that PNG's aspiration to join ASEAN requires more than political will. It demands regional credibility and internal reform. What steps must PNG take domestically and diplomatically to position itself as a valuable candidate for ASEAN members?
Sorry, Michael, could you repeat it? I didn't catch that.
All right, so my third point is based on topic 10. In your presentation, you mentioned that PNG's aspiration to join ASEAN requires more than political will. It demands regional credibility and internal reform. What steps must PNG take domestically and diplomatically to position itself as a viable candidate for ASEAN membership?
That's a very, very tricky question. Very tricky question because I am I don't think joining ASEAN will provide us that same interest we want achieved if we were to visit the ASEAN members bilaterally. It will still be the same thing, and all because they've told us straight out, you are not Asians. So you may man to you may got skinny, and once they say that, then you may stop him now. I just concentrate on building up our bilateral relations through the APEC process, because 5 of the 10, 11 ASEAN big boys are in APEC. So, and you get to meet them every leaders meeting. Every APEC ministers meeting, every trade ministers meeting, every year you get to meet them. So through them, we hold bilateral meetings and talk about issues of mutual interest and concerns, and then they can go ahead and do it. All these missions, all these 10, 11 ASEAN member states have missions in all those member countries. Can we do that? Are we able to come up with an ASEAN secretariat now? And at the same time, appoint an ASEAN ambassador. I think ASEAN ambassador ba isi lo appoint him, easy. Dimi ko appoint him plenty ambassadors ladies, but ASEAN ambassador ba isi lo appoint him. And then go set up lo Jakarta and start work now. But how will he or she be supported from home if there's no ASEAN secretariat? How are we going to achieve the collective objectives of ASEAN? I asked that particular question because in 1993, when the BOGO goals came up, PNG had the opportunity of becoming advanced if it had attended to all the activities in the 17 chapters of the BOGO goals, individual action plans of the IAPs of the BOGO goals. All the other smaller economies went ahead and did that. And then once the BOGO goals ended in 2020, they all talked about their advancements in ICT, in agriculture, in health, in education, while we were still struggling to catch up. So based on that, ASEAN also has collective activities which its members have signed on to achieve. And these have been signed on to achieve through collective engagement activities such as policy orientation, working together on a policy activity, policy initiative, and then going ahead and implement it in across 3 or 4 or 5 ASEAN countries. The same thing. So with all that, what do we want? And if we, and going back to the foreign policy white paper, the foreign policy white paper will show us that direction. The foreign policy white paper will show us whether it is PNG, it is time for PNG to push to join, become a member of ASEAN, or lose him, and we go this other alternative way to still achieve the same result. Because the end result is important, huh? And we need to know what the end result is. All right. I hope that answers your question, Michael.
Thank you. That answers my question. So my third question is, in your presentation, you highlighted the need for proactive decision-making in foreign policy, even in the absence of cabinet endorsement. What are the potential risks and benefits of implementing foreign policy plans without formal approval, and how can public servants manage this responsibly?
Sorry, Michael, I didn't catch the first part.
In your presentation, you highlighted the need for proactive decision-making in foreign policy, even in the absence of cabinet endorsement. What are the potential risks and benefits of implementing foreign policy plans without formal approval, and how can public servants manage this responsibly?
We fall back to the next best plan, the MTDP4. We go back to the MTDP4, we go down to SPA 12 and look at SPA 12 and see what the strategies are and the activities involved in achieving those strategies. And then it's all there, endorsed by Parliament. We will not go wrong on that. That was the whole point I was trying to bring across. Not to pluck out any activities from DA working, but the SPA 12 of the MTDP4 provides us that guidance for going forward. And that MTDP4 is also complemented by the current bilateral agreements we have with our bilateral partners and with our multilateral partners. That complements that drive towards achieving that mutual objective.
right, thank you. On to my final question. In your presentation, you emphasize student engagement in nation building, highlighting our recognition that young people are not just future leaders, they are active contributors today. In a rapidly changing global environment, their perspectives on technology, climate, education, and diplomacy increasingly relevant. Yet, youth voices are often underrepresented in formal policy-making spaces, especially in foreign affairs. Could PNG's foreign policy benefit from a youth advisory council that regularly consults with students and young professionals on global issues, helping to shape more inclusive and forward-looking diplomatic strategies?
Yes, yes, I'll say yes to that, and we can support that capability through mock APEC conferences. I've noticed that the Chinese get their youths and the universities to do that every year or periodically, once every 2 years or something. They get them to represent. They get them to research a country, an economy's development agenda, and then come in as an economy A and walk through that. So that's one very good way of doing that, because in that way it's a policy-oriented engagement, which is rightfully belongs to the university level of thinking to support that capability. I agree on that, and I think that is something we should pursue going forward. And thank you for that idea.
You're welcome, and there's always something to learn from you and Mr. Yegura. Thank you for your insightful responses, and that's all from me.
Thank you, Michaelin.
Thank you.
We will Tess decided to swap a place with Modi, so we'll have Modi as the last person to share comments and ask questions, and then we'll close. Since we started at 6:30, we'll end at 8:30. Is that okay with you, Mr. Ako? Okay. All right, then Modi, go ahead.
Sorry, my laptop, the network went out, so I'm using Fitzalin's. Can I be heard? Can you guys hear me? Yeah, I don't know if they can hear me.
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Thank you. Okay, I'll ask my question. I have 4 questions. I have 8 actually, but I'll ask some of them tomorrow during the. Sorry, looking for my question. Oh, okay. So these questions are related to topic 9, the foreign policy review 2017. So my first question is, how does Prime Minister James Marape's aspiration to make Papua New Guinea the richest Black Christian nation on earth shape his diplomatic engagement with Israel? That's my first question.
That's a political question, and that's a political aspiration by our political leaders. The responsibility of a bureaucrat, as a departmental head, as a team leader, as a branch head, as a divisional head, is how to interpret that within your own space and make it happen. Okay, so for us, for example, in our space is the foreign policy. So how can we drive Papua New Guinea's foreign policy? How can you drive Papua New Guinea's interest through its foreign policy in order to make Papua New Guinea become the richest blackest nation in the world? Okay, and the first thing I'm on that is to have a foreign policy white paper. So only once we look at a foreign policy white paper, then we can plan how to achieve that political aspiration. Okay, So that's Modi, that's how we'll answer your question.
Thank you. Thank you for your answer. For my second question, it's in light of, again, Marape's effort to strengthen ties with Israel, what steps can he take to balance PNG's relationship with countries in the region, especially those with differing perspective on the Israel-Palestine conflict?
When you mean countries in the region, do you mean our immediate region or the Middle East?
Yes, our immediate region,
Okay.
Australia, New Zealand.
So now you can see the example I was talking about in terms of the Pukpuk Treaty. So imagine if we had signed the treaty, and now we have one party who's supporting the recognition of a state of Palestine, and the other party of the same treaty talk no God. So how does that work now? And it all falls back to that foreign policy white paper, that direction. Once you make it as a direction, now you be complementing one time or MTDP4 and all the other development aspirations we have, then it's a national interest, and it will help support all our diplomats abroad when they have this document to say, no, this is our position. And unless I get different position from government now, I am not going to change my view, regardless of my personal views. National position to Bampla move in a direction. That's how we will move. Thank you. Put the flag down. Now, within the region itself, we then have to look at the dynamics again of Husat, Wo Tolsem, Husat, Wo Tolsem, and you look at size me. And that's where I stand in my earlier conversation, in my earlier discussion. Tolsem, we are bigger than other countries in the region. You know, when we watch rugby league and one huge big forwards are on, names are on, ECC, or masa toko nem. Oh, use him size blue na ron hard. You run ECC no lilig mangi ko takolim yun, happy yun na sutilo ground eh. That's what can happen if we do not use our size and play. People will dump us and or spear tackle. They spear tackle us every time we hold the ball and run. That's how I view it. We cannot talk about national interest and yet come back and try to make everyone happy. All our fathers, you know, I'll talk about my late father. My late father was the eldest of 15 siblings. And I wish he was alive today, because then we would have known how I'm balance him and make him over 14 siblings blem hamamas. And that would be a trait which all the old Lapun chiefs of before would have done. And I know that he went hungry most times just so that all Lig Blem can kaiken asleep. And those are the sacrifices we are talking about. We have more than 10 million people to worry about in our country. It's their interest which all put him go inside the MTDP4. It's the interest of the 10 million people or put him go inside the foreign policy white paper. Now, work blue lo post, lo push him this agenda so that lo benefit lo magi or family start the place. Now you go na emotion blue overcome immune, you vote lo emotion blue. Then we are the people back at home who suffer. Because the MTDP4 na foreign policy white paper, it wasn't just plucked out of thin air yesterday. Not you plug on a walking. They were a group of eminent people who went about planning it. People with so much experience around the world, and that must be respected. That's why when during a discussion earlier today regarding why PNG voted, I said PNG voted because of its national interest. There's nothing to do with emotions. Tuck away your emotions. You may what a Christian, yes, you may look low the life and death situation, and you know, you may say watching the TV, and you know, right? But you were you were selected, you were appointed to drive this agenda abroad, so you're gonna drive it. Okay, so that's how I can answer your question, Modi.
Thank you for that insightful and response. And I gather that this foreign policy white paper is really important for our country's security and our country's development, our country's future. So that's what I gathered from not only this session that you answered my 2 questions, but also from the previous sessions that we've had. So moving on to my next 2 questions, they are more to do with the youths. So to Mr. Ako, as a practitioner, I am curious to know what other Australians in the same field as you, like in foreign affairs and all that, the people that you work with, Australians, what they think about the youths of Papua New Guinea. Are their views more optimistic or pessimistic?
Before before diplomats are come on top, they go for briefing sessions. So they would have been briefed about the situations here before coming up. So from online or local embassies and high commissions below, that will be the official line they will walk. From the friends, their views will be different. I have a lot of friends, expatriate friends, not only Australians, but also Asians, Latinos, and they have similar problems back home. And once you sit down with them, you start talking, and because you are friends, you talk on the same level and you share ideas about how their governments and how their youth systems are, utilized back home, how our youth systems all looking, and they can see where improvements can be done, And a lot of those youth programs, well, not a lot, all the youth programs around the world cost money to run. Okay, you have if we had the money, we would put in all our youths or all this population through a compulsory military service for maybe 1 month a year. And that's what our Australian partners do. After all resign, then I have had conversations with some former military, and they told after they resign, they sign on for reserve as a reservist. So for a certain period of a year, they go help around at the mechanic workshop, or all go cook, or all go running or something, just to cover more gaps. They do that. So those are opportunities available. You have a national youth program. The national youth program is there, but how can you have a national youth program as an entity, but within that national youth program, sometimes no go school. Sometimes go school, let's go school. While some Poroman will go school, all kalap kanu dingi one time or papa don or go out fishing. How do you change that attitude? The Tograman must go school. We have a hard time here in Hanobara. Our Hanobara experience is most probably unique from the rest of the country. Why? Because this village saw modernization first, this part of the world. So time all colonial line come and set up Mosby. The Hanobarans and the other Motuan villages in the vicinity of Port Moresby became the employment hub, which provided the wrong mentality that you just go school or grade 6 and work stuff. And then over the years, it promoted you just go some grade 10 certificate to work stuff to town, but you go work. But come 2000, time work go, unemployment start increase, education level will not low, non-motor start going up, and they start seeing them. It became a cultural thing. Because all papa na tumbuna bol mangi now, all lime los like grade 8 na grade 10 certificate go find him work. So our biggest challenge now in Hanover is to change that attitude. That no go work lo town lo grade 10 na grade 12. You must go school hard, na go lo tech college or go to university lo find him good work. That's something that attitude must be changed now. So that is an issue for the youth now. Look him. So our leaders from a modern urban Motuan village, urban Papua New Guinean village like Hanover, that's the challenge which our local member of parliament or the Motokoitabu assembly chairman would have. Going to another village situation, say in Medeng or in East New Britain, is different, because while the youth here might not have any fishing grounds to go to, we don't have gardening ground mo. Di ba no sa garden mo? No kat. They told those gardening our gardens were lost in the 1970s, 1960s. So we don't have those, and that is the advantage which the other youths of the other parts of Papua New Guinea have. You look in. We have a village that was destroyed by war during World War II, by bombing and also by some carriers, lighting hurricane light, half of the village got burned down. That village, most of that half of the village was built by the Australian administration when restoration started. So for most part, we've been handed a lot of things on a silver platter, especially my father's generation and the grandfather's generation. So urbanization now has brought a different perspective to how we view youths in this part of the country. It's different from other parts of the country. Like I said, you have your agriculture, you have your gardens there, you have your hunting grounds there. So suppose you don't go school, place here. I lived in CY in 1970, 75, 76 when my father was a missionary there. And I can tell you, minus I go school. Time will wala pun kam to go school, mi gaman go lo school signal mo temo mangi mi pa around ani lo kakao na all so creek no lo me panim kingdom na just enjoying the nature. So when and say Monday to Friday I'll go to school 1 or 2 days a week. Not pa 3 per day me na Mexico, the late Mexico picnic bedmaster will be roaming around the villages. Huray na Musiminoy na Duse and all those villages. And the elders would come and report me toka missionary tala picnic blue no go school round hap stuff. So what happened when the presentation time came, we all missed out, and I am told that I shed tears because I missed out on getting a prize. So the following year, when my old man was appointed as the chaplain of the patrol boat base in Long, I had to go and repeat grade 1 again. So you see, the modern youth, not the rural youth. The rural youth, your life is full of adventure. May plalo town em nogad now. Sanap lo just put him table outside na salim buhay or suppose you know go school or no walk. So those are the difference between how to youth development. And then if you're talking about providing an SME hub or something, then what type of SME hub do you have in mind for an urban youth? Or for the urban mothers? If you're talking about helping them, showing them how to sew Mary blouse, for goodness sake, the whole length of Hanobara or for about 1 or 2 kilometers, Mary blouse pull up. Are there no other innovative ideas for you to teach the mothers so that they can change their lives? Instead of sewing Mary blouse, why can't you set up a textile factory and bring in raw materials from abroad so that we can roll out materials where Mary blouse can be sewn on? During a conversation with someone, I overheard someone telling a local member that, listen, me stop leben, so don't come and talk about building bridges or housing. We have all those. Come and tell us about internet prices, where by decreasing internet price. Come and talk to us about the tax we pay on Easy Pay. So once we go and pay a 50K na Easy Pay and we get 66 credits, we want it to be 120 credits so that the Easy Pay by lasts longer. And time light lasts longer, it enables us to do sales or do email businesses or something. No, those are the things which most people in this urban villages are talking about. They're not talking about bridges or hospitals, but those things are within our reach here in Mosby. We get on a vehicle within 5 minutes, we're at Pomjan. Or especially Hanobara, you can walk to waterfront. All those services we have. the only services we want browsing blackout. We want the cost of internet logoran, so we want to pay 1 kina for 100 gigs, like overseas. We want 5G, 3G, all those things we want. So the needs and demands of the youths in an urban village are different from those in a rural setting. And even in the rural setting too, online rural close to the town, na goal of boost place also. Okay? They're not the same.
Thank you, Mr. Ako, for your response. Interest from it also relates youth in week 13 or 2 under the unit PG428. What can you say about the unit and students so far? Do you the program? Sorry, my question is, now that we are in week 13 of semester 2 under the unit PG428, what can you say about the unit and students so far? Do you think we have the potential to carry on the country's affairs and relationships?
I definitely do. I definitely do. Every one of you this last 3 months, 8 weeks, 10 weeks have always kept me on my toes. And I had to go and do extra readings as well to just letting him side me so we are on the same equal same path. So you continue at this level, continue at this speed. The future is wide open for each and every one of you to go out and advance Papua New Guinea's interest in whatever field you decide to take on. Be an engineer or an agriculturist or a doctor, or go into public policy or driving the international relations agenda. You will still drive it properly if you maintain the current zeal, commitment, enthusiasm you've shown in the last 10 weeks. Very positive. Very positive.
Thank you. Thank you for your response. And it's always good to hear that there's trust in our generation as well. And that is all from me, my 4 questions for this session today.
All right, so thank you, Modi, and thank you everyone who participated and those of you who attended and sat down and listened to our comments and questions. And thank you, Mr. Ako, as well for your time for joining us this evening. We may finish your session now. Thank you, everyone. And tomorrow we have our session with Mr. Anna. So as per my email, if you have any questions, please make sure you let me know, and then I can organize that, list your name. So after he presents, we go straight into Q&A. I think the first on the list is Amy. So if you have questions, just let me know via email, and then I'll list it down. So it's we save time. Time is limited. So when he completes his lecture, we just go straight into questions and comments. So you may not wait and ask him, get question or comments. But then, so thank you everyone for joining us.
All right. Good plan.
Mr. Ako.
Looking for
Yes.
tomorrow. Thank you, Mr. Aguilera.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. See you all tomorrow.
Good job.
Bye.